All right, man, peace. So, NBA super dad and resident alpha male LaVar Ball once again decided to throw a cherry bomb into the relative machinations of the NBA by declaring the decree that if the LA Lakers decide that they're not going to sign his other two sons, LiAngelo and LaMelo, that he will have his son Lonzo take his services elsewhere once his contract is ended in 2021. Of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
We'll get into those Sixers in just a minute. Meanwhile, Jalen Rose joins us from Detroit, out there doing work for the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, checking out the new look Pistons. Good.
Yeah, he's out there doing work with his Leadership Academy, and you're getting worked by Will Kane, Miss Molly Karam, allegedly. Jalen Rose, watch your woman, man.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, guys, let's get into it. We're going to start with the Lakers here. They've won 8 of their last 11 playing without Lonzo Ball, but that isn't stopping LaVar.
Now look at LaVar Ball's wife, the Caucasian woman there. Did you see what she did there when the clip first started? She got incensed by something that most likely happened to their son Lonzo. I'm guessing that they're at the Laker game. She got incensed, and then she immediately looked to her left to look at LaVar, because she was looking to make sure that she was on one accord with him.
Far from talking. The Ball patriarch with another outrageous comment telling a Lithuanian reporter, quote, Lonzo will be on his 3rd year, and I want to let every NBA team know that Lonzo is not going to re-sign with the Lakers, but will go to any team that will take all of my 3 boys. LaVar trying to pull the power play. There are some inaccuracies with what he said, though, gentlemen. Bear with me. Lonzo under contract for 3 more years through 2020, the 2021 season. He still would have a year left on his rookie deal with the Lakers when the youngest brother, LaMelo, could sign an NBA contract. Jalen, how should the Lakers respond to LaVar?
Let me say this quickly before Jalen Rose speaks. I firmly believe that the reason why LaVar made the statement that he made is because he knows that the writing's on the wall for Luke Walton. This is why I made this series of videos that I made in regards to LaVar Ball and Luke Walton. I think that LaVar has been in more communication with Magic Johnson than other people realize. I think that he and Magic Johnson are on one accord pertaining to Mr. Luke Walton. That Luke Walton has a certain style of offense that is not conducive to their personnel. He, like many other coaches in the NBA, is trying to get them to play like the Golden State Warriors. And they don't have a Golden State Warrior skill set. They don't have long-range bombers. They're a team that needs to play more physically. That is why you must watch out for Mr. David Fizdale. I believe that that coach is much more up Magic Johnson and LaVar Ball's alley. I also believe that LaVar is trying to put the pressure on his son Lonzo to become such a commodity that by the time that his contract is up, the Lakers are not going to have an option but to sign his 2 brothers to keep him. So there's a series of reasons why LaVar would make the statements that he made. Do I think that it's necessarily the wisest thing to do? No, I don't. But LaVar is an alpha male. He thinks on an alpha level. And I'm pretty sure that his reasoning behind the decree that he made, that he levied, is that if the Lakers decide to not sign his son, Lonzo, and if his son is not good enough to be wanted by other teams, then it's time for Lonzo to leave the NBA anyway, and most likely aid the Balls in their own family pursuits. So it's pretty much a no-lose for LaVar to make that type of a decree, because either his son is going to be good enough to demand that the Lakers sign his other 2 brothers just to keep him, or he's not going to be good enough to be wanted by other teams anyway. But I give the brother credit. He has an insane amount of belief in all 3 of his sons, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, oh, what are you talking about? He's going to cost his son all this money. He's going to... Look, I said this before. I stated this in regards to the Kyrie Irving situation many months ago. There are certain men who would rather live in a studio apartment that is theirs than live in a mansion where they have to obey other men. And you have to have that mindset to understand that. If you don't have that mindset, you're not going to understand that. There are certain men who would rather make $40,000 a year managing and handling their own company than make $4 million a year for someone else. It's just a different mindset. I'm not saying that it's necessarily the best mindset when the disparity in money is that large. But LaVar Ball has an alpha personality, and he's trying to imbue that in his sons. I also believe that he has made connections overseas, whether it be in Lithuania or in Asia. He certainly has the gift of gab. And don't marvel if Lonzo's contract expires after 3 years and he's still just an above average player and not good enough to make the demands that his father is trying to stipulate, and he goes and plays overseas with his two brothers and they become a Stephon Marbury type, except on a family level. Don't be shocked.
Ignore him, literally allow him to hang out in Lithuania and watch his sons play professional basketball against the adults a couple of days a week, and then play against the amateurs the other days of the week when they really put up statistics. Here's the thing. The only thing that we care about as it relates to LaVar Ball is Lonzo Ball playing really well for the Los Angeles Lakers.
No, you guys care about a lot more than that when it comes to LaVar Ball. You don't just care about Lonzo playing well. You do care about the things that LaVar is saying, because you're marveling at him. He has you quizzical. This person who is not going to allow you to dictate anything to him.
When he's not relevant, LaVar won't be relevant. And you know who I blame? You guys, the media. We put microphones in front of his face. We ran with every comment.
You're the media too, Jalen. You're on like 8 shows. Jalen, get out of here. And you're on our show.
You guys. Absolutely. Y'all got him in L.A. doing that dance, coming all on
whatever.
Y'all pumping up the Big Baller brand and helping.
Get him, Stephen
Where
A.
were you, Jalen? Where were you, Jalen? You were chilling in the freezing cold in New York. You on visit. Where the hell were you last time I checked? You right up in here with us. How the hell you get out of this?
And here's the thing.
Where you going?
I must admit, I do love LaVar Ball. As somebody that grew up without a dad, I'm actually filing for papers so that he can adopt me.
Y'all?
Much credit to Jalen Rose for stating that, because I believe that many people have that same sentiment, that they wish that LaVar Ball was their dad. They just don't have the courage to say it. So good for Jalen Rose for admitting that. You know, even though he's still punked out with that Michelle Beadle, Tracy McGrady situation with the hot pepper challenge. But, you know, Jalen has always been honest with himself and with the viewing audience at large, other than that moment.
And then I can get a piece
Where
of the Big
y'all?
Baller brand stock.
Yeah,
but I blame
you need to talk to your family before you do
he
that.
got famous on First Take. That's why I like to come on this show.
Whatever.
So I can get famous too.
Well, actually, LaVar got famous on TMZ Sports. Van Lathan is the person who really introduced him to the masses. And from there, he started to just get bigger and bigger because of his quote-unquote outlandish statements.
I got this. I'll deal with you in a second. I want to hear that word y'all out of your mouth. Not y'all. Y'all, you too. Don't try to get out of it now. But here's the deal. Let me be very, very clear. And we'll have that conversation about the media's role in all of this a little bit later on in the show. Our brother ain't running from it. I'm one of the first interviews he did. I'm more than happy to defend that position. I can't wait till we have that discussion.
Well, I wouldn't call what you had with him an interview. I would say that it was more of an attempt at a debate, and he made you look rather silly, Stephen A. Smith. I remember doing a video about that because brothers kept asking me about LaVar Ball. I believe I titled the video "The Clash of the Titans," when LaVar really made Stephen A. look very small.
Having said all of that, in regards to this, his comments are out of bounds. It's relatively idiotic. We all know this, but I'm going to bring up a point.
Well, no, we all don't know this. That's how you feel. You feel that his comments were out of bounds and that they were quote-unquote idiotic. And to a degree, I can understand why someone might put that type of spirit behind his commentary. I don't think that it was necessarily wise to say something like that publicly so far ahead of his son's impending free agency 3 years from now. But I do think that it's truly just a conveyance of how much faith he has in his son Lonzo to become an asset that the Lakers are not going to be willing to part with, even if it means signing LaVar's other two sons. I also think that it's a conveyance of how much faith and belief Lavar has in his other two sons, and the understanding that we're going to build this together as a family, which is something that you do not see placed in public view in America. A father, especially a so-called black father, with that type of spirit. And of course you have the pro-blacks. Oh, well, I don't think that they're a black family. I don't think that Lavar is black. Look, whatever. You say what you want to say. I'm not going to get into the idiosyncrasies of what is black and what isn't black. I'm already on record as saying there's no such race as black. Right? Your color cannot be a race. But it is what it is.
That needs to be made. If I'm the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm thinking about moving Lonzo Ball. Not this season, of course. But if this young man don't learn to step up and handle his business and do whatever he can to distance himself from his daddy's comments publicly, I'm going to have to sit up there and think about getting him the hell up out of Los Angeles.
Well, you do what you need to do, Stephen A. Smith. I guarantee you, if you were to ever become the general manager of a team, they'd probably trade you. Look, we're trying to trade our general manager, I don't know, for a bag of popcorn.
California. This is ridiculous. The fact of the matter is this. Lonzo Ball, as far as I'm concerned, has a lot of promise. I haven't given up on him. He's not a bust by any stretch of the imagination. But when your daddy, articulates those comments, LaVar Ball is clearly his own man. We understand that. And for all intent and purpose, his kids might be scared as hell of him. As far as we know, I don't know that. I'm not trying to speculate about it.
Well, I think that most children who have a strong father, I won't say are scared of their father, but they have an extreme amount of respect for their father, because the man has that masculine energy, and it is going to cause his children to pause. As Stephen A. would say, give them cause to pause. As it should. You have to honor your father and your mother. But the energy, the spirit of a father is going to dominate the children up to a certain age. And at the end of the day, Lonzo is still only 19 or 20 years old. He's not fully in his manhood yet, where he understands what exactly he should be doing. So he is being guided by his dad. So there's only so much he's going to, quote unquote, rebel against him.
But I do know this. Lonzo Ball is now a young adult. You are a professional athlete. It's not about this comment. It's about what LaVar Ball said about Luke Walton a few weeks ago and things of that nature, what's going on in that locker room, etc., etc. If I'm a member of the Lakers organization, particularly if I'm one of those players in uniform, I've got a raised eyebrow, and I'm looking at Lonzo like, well, you going home and talking to your daddy about us? What exactly is it that you saying?
Well, if you're one of the other players in the Lakers locker room, I think that the least of your concern should be Lonzo Ball's dad. If you're coming to work every day and you're a member of the LA Lakers and you're a team that has been playing very well but is still over 10 games under 500, the least of your concern should be what another player's father is saying about you. You should be concerned about having a job with that team the next season. That's what your concern should be. And for all the naysayers who want Lonzo Ball to publicly hold a press conference and say how much he disavows himself of his dad's comments, why hasn't Magic Johnson disavowed himself of LaVar's comments? Once again, I believe that Magic Johnson is much more in lockstep with many of LaVar's sentiments than many people want to acknowledge. I don't think that Luke Walton is necessarily going to be long for the LA Lakers. Please remember, Magic Johnson did not hire him. And I do believe that David Fizdale is on Magic Johnson's radar, especially looking at their personnel. So once again, if you're any of the ragamuffin members of the LA Lakers, the least of your concern should be what Lonzo Ball's dad is saying. Don't worry about that. Worry about running the play and winning games.
Because I want to know. And if, by the way, your comments don't vibe with what he's saying, you that damn scared that you can't sit up there and say, that's my dad, that has nothing to do with what I feel. You can't do that?
He's already done that. He's done that numerous times. Really what the media wants is to sow dissension between Lonzo Ball and his dad, because they're trying to tear down any form of strong black male expression, particularly from a fatherly or patriarchal perspective. That's all.
I need to hear that coming from you. I'm not saying that he didn't say it because I don't know for sure, but I don't...
Well, if you're saying that he didn't say it, then why did you put forth the sentiment then?
But I don't believe I've heard that out of his mouth.
Well, then you're not doing your due diligence. You're supposed to be a media member and a journalist. You should research before you speak, sir.
And I would like to hear that. And if I don't hear that, and his daddy keeps running his mouth, but
you ain't gonna do a damn thing about it. If you don't hear that and his daddy keeps running his mouth, you're not gonna do a damn thing about it.
Particularly about what's going on within the corridors of this organization, then I'm gonna get Lonzo up out of here. It's just that simple.
You're not gonna move nothing. The Lakers have been whack juice for the last 3-4 years. He is their #1 draft pick. That's what he is. So they're going to give him at least 2 more years to see if it works. That's how this is going to go. He has not brought a cherry bomb into the locker room like D'Angelo Russell. For all intents and purposes, he's been a very calming force. Yes, his dad tends to run his mouth a little bit too much. I think that his dad is bringing a lot of issues to the surface that many other members of the Lakers upper brass have been ruminating about themselves, particularly Luke Walton. Also, many of the other players on the team, which I already told you guys had to go. Players like Jordan Clarkson, Julius Randle. They tried to get rid of Julius Randle, but they couldn't. The Lakers have bigger things to worry about. They have bigger fish to fry than LeVar Ball.
Because I don't need a cat that's supposed to choreograph, the part 2 of Showtime. He's my point guard. He's supposed to be the future and all of this other stuff.
Look at Jalen's face.
But Daddy running his comments about this organization. I'm going to get him up out of here. I'm sure I can find somebody that does what he does, okay? That's what I'm going to do. And if you have to be able to stand up. I'm not talking about disrespecting his father. Please don't get me wrong.
Yes, you are.
Wrong. I'm not even talking about talking back to his father.
Yes, you are.
I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying what you can do is say, look, y'all, that's my dad. He's his own man. That has nothing to do with how I feel.
He's already said that numerous times. So that's not really what you're looking for. You're looking for Lonzo to try to break off any relation or rapport with his father. Because you guys want to create a disconnect so that you can also elicit some type of disassociation between LeVar and Lonzo as a warning to all other strong black men, strong black fathers, I should say, so-called black, that if you try to buck the system like a LeVar Ball, this is what's going to happen. It's going to lead to a disintegration in the relationship between you and your son. That's the real reason why you want Lonzo to spaz out on his dad or to make strong statements against his dad. You just want to indirectly attack the patriarchy by using the son. That's how it works. At no point have any of these people come on TV and say, Eli Apple, I need you to speak against your mother, Annie Apple. You haven't heard that once.
I'm happy to be a member of the Lakers organization. Bottom line, you can do that. And if you got a problem doing something like that, and you got a problem manning up, I don't need you to be a leader on my team.
Well, what a man is doing what he's supposed to do. What he's been doing is running plays and learning the NBA system. He's a rookie right now. He's 19, 20 years old. His dad is not a regular dad. He also provides a lot of the management aspect for Lonzo. So it's different. We've had big name agents in the past who have spoken about what their client is going to do if a team doesn't do such and such. Super agents like David Falk and Scott Boras and people of that caliber, whether it be in baseball or football or basketball, who have pretty much put forth decrees in regards to what they're going to do with their client if the team does not do such and such. It just happens that in this situation, the management is led by Mr. LeVar Ball. So you have to deal with that. And you also have to deal with the fact that, yes, he is a black man who's not going to kowtow. He's not going to bend over. He's not going to bow down. It is what it is.
It's just that simple to me.
Max?
The problem with going over the top for LeVar Ball, Stephen A., is that once you go over the top, how much, you got to keep topping yourself. You got to be more outrageous. There's nowhere to go, really. That's the problem, and yet I don't even think that's the problem here specifically with LeVar Ball.
I don't either. I don't think that LeVar is making these statements for sensationalism. I think that this is what he truly feels, and this is what is going to happen in 3 years if the Lakers do not sign his two sons. due to the fact that Lonzo has not been an unbelievable rookie, Lavar knows that his leverage has been diminished greatly. So now he's trying to bet on his son becoming a dominant player over the next 3 years. That's what he's hoping for. So that by the end of this contract, Lonzo is such a commodity, he's such a necessity that it will force the Lakers, it'll force their hand into signing his other two sons. That basically is what Lavar's long-range plan is. And if that doesn't work, he'll try to move all his sons to another team in the NBA. And if that doesn't work, I believe that he'll try to take them overseas.
How should the Lakers react? Jalen, you're right. Ignore it. It's the rantings. I like LeVar Ball a lot. He is entertaining.
I don't know how anybody could dislike LeVar Ball unless you just have that low of self-esteem. People who have low self-esteem normally dislike people who have high self-esteem. That's about it. LeVar Ball's not hurting anyone. He's clearly just trying to publicize his business. It's not that big a deal. It only becomes a big deal if you have a personal hang-up. Either it's that maybe you didn't have a father in your life, maybe you have low self-esteem, or maybe you're just frustrated that a so-called black man is not there to be submissive, and that he exudes a certain amount of confidence in his own ability to lead.
I like dealing with him. I think he tells you what he thinks. Even here, he's calculated, he's pumping up the brand. Is he? Or is someone putting a microphone in his face and he's telling you what he thinks at the moment or what he'd like to happen?
Or a little of both.
LeVar is delusional about his sons.
I don't think that he's delusional. I think that he's excessively positive. There's a thin line between delusion and excessive positivity. But for people in the sports world, if they were not excessively positive about their own fortunes or their own potential, they would not be able to succeed. If Michael Jordan did not truly believe that he could become the greatest player ever, would he have been able to do that or approximate that? Absolutely not. If you're LeBron James growing up in a broken home and you don't have unwavering belief in yourself, could he have succeeded to the level that he has? Absolutely not. The great Muhammad Ali, he said, "I called myself the greatest before I even knew that I was." This is what LeVar Ball means when he says that you have to speak things into existence. You have to think things into existence. You have to see it to be it. It's not a very complex ideology, but it's difficult for most people to approximate because most people do not believe in themselves.
He is under the impression that Lonzo currently or has shown that very soon will have such leverage based on how good he is.
Absolutely. Ding. Now you're getting somewhere, Max Kellerman. Now you're getting somewhere. LeVar Ball is making this decree based off of his belief that in 3 years, Lonzo's going to be irreplaceable. And he'll be able to hold the Lakers' feet over the fire. So he truly is just putting pressure on Lonzo.
That he can get his other two brothers jobs based on something other than merit in the NBA? Well, the question with Lonzo, and I don't think he is a bust, but if I did, I wouldn't be the first person to say I thought that. I mean, you started to hear that. Is Lonzo a bust? Is he ever going to be able to shoot? How are you going to fix that shot?
Well, people were saying that after 5 games because they wanted him to fail. Why? Because of what he represented. He represented the progeny of an alpha male. And it is almost borderline illegal to be an alpha male in this society. They do not want you to have your own thoughts, to have high self-esteem. They don't want you to truly have a vision for yourself, particularly as a so-called black man, and to speak these things publicly. You're not supposed to do that. The way that many in the mainstream sports media speak about LeVar Ball, you think that he was somebody living in a homeless shelter who was a former crackhead. Oh, he's a nobody. How could he be a nobody? He already had his family living in a nice home before they ever even went anywhere. Before his son was drafted, they were living in a nice home. So clearly he's doing his job. So these guys who come on the internet talking about how LeVar Ball is a bad dad, first off, that to me is just another emission of bitch energy, which a lot of modern day liberal males have, an excessive amount of bitch energy. And I'll probably be touching on that in future videos. A lot of these guys, man, so much bitch in them, worrying about the next man, talking about how he's a bad father. How could he be a bad father when he's raising his sons? Are you going to raise his sons? Absolutely not. A lot of these guys talk all that shit on the internet and haven't spoke to their son in 3 months. I want to talk about LaVar Ball and how he's treating his sons. I know one thing. I know his 3 sons adore him. You could say that they adore him because they're scared of him, but I know that they adore him, so he must be doing something right.
It's ugly, that's not a shot that'll ever be consistent. You got to tear it down and build it up again. That takes time. So LaVar is delusional here. And how the Lakers should respond to that is just by doing nothing. The reason you don't trade him, Stephen A., now is his trade value should go up. I mean, you'd hope his shot improves from this and he gets to be a better player. He's a rookie, so his trade value should go up. You don't want to sell low. And two, the other thing about getting rid of LaVar right now, it's not like the Lakers, because Lonzo's so spectacular, are such a desirable destination.
Why are you
that it's
saying
only
that?
LaVar Ball keeping people away.
I absolutely agree with Max Kellerman there. I mean, who was the last big free agent that the Lakers have signed? Can somebody tell me? Luol Deng? We know that during the Kobe Bryant era, none of the top free agents really wanted to come play with them. We know that for a fact. I don't even know who the last big name free agent was who signed with that team. Kobe is on record as stating that he tried to get Dirk to come play with him, and Dirk told him no. We know why. Not only does Dirk have a lot of equity with the Dallas Mavericks, he also has no inclination to want to play with a Kobe Bryant, or at least didn't. So let's not try to blame LaVar Ball for why the Lakers may not get a big-time free agent. We know that Paul George is considering going there. We knew that at one point Russell Westbrook was considering going to the LA Lakers. Now we hear talks about LeBron James. Do I believe that LeBron will sign there? Who knows? He has a lot of business ventures going on out there. He has homes there. We know that he's very close to Magic Johnson. We don't know. But LaVar Ball is not going to stop anyone from signing with the LA Lakers.
Why are you saying that? I specifically said not now. I specifically said that. I'm not talking about now. I said if this keeps up, I specifically said you don't do anything with him now. That's exactly what I said.
Well, do you know what, Steve? Then you know you just don't know what you're saying. If they should trade him later and not now. For the simple fact that if you're not going to trade him now, don't trade him at all. You're going to wait to see how good he becomes, and by the time you deduce that he's not that good, you're pretty much going to have to move him anyway. So, I mean, if you're going to trade, either you're going to trade him now or you let him play out his contract. It's not like he's a D'Angelo Russell who couldn't have stayed because of how he was viewed in the locker room. And that's really the main reason why they traded him. They didn't trade him because of his play. Had D'Angelo Russell not gotten involved in that phone issue with Nick Young, he'd still be on the Lakers right now. Because they would be working with him. The draft pick would have been too high to just trade him after a year like that. Or after a year and a half, however many years he was there. Lonzo Ball is not a big enough threat to play games with him over whether or not you're going to trade him over his daddy. He's not a big enough threat to the team fabric. Nowhere near as big as they're trying to make him out to be. So if you're not going to trade him as soon as possible, you may as well wait until his contract is up. Now, people may say, well, don't you think that you should get something for him? How much are you going to get for Lonzo Ball if you figure that his daddy is such a big distraction that you want to trade him? Like, really? If his daddy is that big a distraction that you have to trade Lonzo Ball, then that speaks to the fabric of your organization. It also speaks to the fact that Lonzo Ball is not good enough for you to keep, despite the fact that, in your view, his dad is causing a distraction. So it wouldn't make sense to trade him. Not at all.
Okay, then we agree about that. If LaVar, but it's also not as though the Lakers are so desirable at the moment, and it's LaVar who's keeping people away because, damn, I'd love to play with Lonzo and them, but man, LaVar, he just makes it not worth it. No, it's that because Lonzo, he's a rookie, there's plenty of time for him to be good. I think he could be a very good player. But because Lonzo is not like Ben Simmons right now.
And not to cut Max off, but you see, Stephen A. is doing it again. It's the same thing that Max accused him of doing with Markelle Fultz. He wants to see all this right away and all that right away, and I'm just going to trade him. That's why Stephen A. Smith couldn't be a GM for any team. Because he has too much bitch energy. He doesn't know how to let things grow. Give things a chance to work first. I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they had gotten rid of Terry Bradshaw's first season, he threw 6 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Ended up in the Hall of Fame. Sometimes you have to give things a chance, man. If I'm going to trade Lonzo Ball, I'm going to trade him because it's what's best for my team. I'm going to make my team better. It's not going to be because of what his daddy said. So I don't see that happening.
No one's looking at the Lakers, a superstar like, I want to win now, and damn it, that's the team to win with. So either way, a trade doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I don't think the Lakers should respond to this.
Lavar is just talking to be heard. And he's in Lithuania.
Well, most people talk to be heard.
And guess what we're doing? We're taking the bait. We're not talking about Lonzo. We're not talking about Lakers. We're not even talking about how his sons are playing in Lithuania. We're literally talking about his comments. If you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you ignore this. Because if his sons, which I don't believe at this point are NBA material, are at the point where they become a part of the league, then that's another conversation for another day. They will not all be on the same NBA team. Lavar knows it. You and I know it.
I don't believe that the other two sons are even going to make it to the NBA. LaMelo might, but the middle son, I doubt it. If he can, then kudos to Lavar.
It's just a conversation piece. As long as we're talking about the big baller brand, we're helping Lavar. And as a matter of fact, I'm a little disappointed in ESPN. He should be playing in the celebrity game this Friday. Why don't we just double down on the Ball family?
The young son needs to get in the gym. LaVar's supposed to be a physical trainer. His sons always look very weak physically. There's no way that his youngest son should be 6'4", 6'5", and barely be able to get the ball over the cup like that. He got to get in the gym and do some squats, man. He got to build up his lower body.
We should allow him to play in the celebrity game this Friday.
Hold on.
No reason why he shouldn't play. He will win MVP based on popularity.
Calm down,
that,
Jalen.
Stephen A?
Calm down, Jalen, because I got a couple of things to say to you. Number one, I will be listening to you and Jacoby today. Don't let me hear you talk about Lavar. Don't let me hear it, because I'm gonna call in and be like, "Oh really? Oh really? You know what? I'm gonna get on you about that. That's point number one." Okay.
Well, the thing with Jalen Rose is that whenever Jalen has spoken about Lavar, he's always spoken about him with a great deal of respect and admiration, and he's placed his conduct and his exploits in proper context. Jalen's thing is, if you people in mainstream sports media dislike Lavar so much, why do you keep talking about him? Jalen can talk about him because he likes him.
Okay. Point number two.
That's a good point. That's off the table for you today.
Hold on. Point number two. I don't care what anybody says. Listen, it's not about this particular comment. Remember, were we supposed to ignore him when he said what he said about Luke Walton? Were we supposed to ignore him when he said what he said about what was going on inside of that locker room? Steve Kerr.
Well, according to Rick Carlisle, you guys were supposed to ignore him. You guys were supposed to ignore him, according to Rick Carlisle, who you claim you go back with years, Stephen A. Smith. So do you respect the sentiment of your friend, quote-unquote, Rick Carlisle, or not?
And Stan Van Gundy and others and Rick Carlisle and them were of the mindset we were supposed to ignore that. I'm supposed to ignore the father of the starting point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers talking about the coach and the players?
Yes. Actually, yes, you were.
What drug are they sniffing? No.
Probably something a little less potent than the stuff you take every morning, Steve.
No. You don't
Allegedly.
ignore that. You pay attention to that, because that comes from somewhere. Now the bottom line is this: whether it comes from Lavar or Lonzo, the point is this is ultimately about Lonzo. Because what I'm saying is, forget Lavar for a second. I don't have a right to sit back and say, "Yo, Lonzo, you can't man up." If I'm a teammate, Jalen, you played in the NBA. If the father of a starting point guard said the team is divided, we don't have any confidence in the coach, plus you got players in that locker room that got their own agenda, you trying to tell me you don't go up to that player, you're not looking at that player wondering what he said to his daddy? You trying to tell me that, Jalen?
Lavar is just speaking, Stephen A., to be heard.
That's not what I'm asking you. That's not my question. That's not my question.
Because everybody has an opinion.
Well, he's answering your question, Stephen A., if you stop yelling like a bitch. He's saying that everybody in the locker room would ignore it, which is my statement exactly. If a player's father and his statements is strong enough to break up your locker room, then your team ain't shit anyway. How could you allow a player's father and any of his sentiments, any of his opinions, any of his statements to break up or fracture your locker room unless you were already teeter-tottering on disintegration anyway? Stephen A. Smith is one of these guys who's always acting like he's looking for a scoop. He's really just trying to inject his own vain opinion in, and oftentimes he doesn't truly understand why people are dismissing a lot of his sentiments, because it just doesn't make sense. How could you say that you're not supposed to ignore LaVar Ball and then state that you want him to go away? Those things are rather mutually exclusive, particularly when you have the power to make him go away by ignoring him.
You gonna ask me? You gonna answer my question? You gonna answer my question?
Yes, sir.
I asked you a question. Would a player, a teammate of yours, whose daddy's running his mouth like that about what's going on in your locker room, you don't say anything? Nothing, Jalen?
At this point, you've already said something to Lonzo, Stephen A. You already know what you're getting into when you deal with the Ball family.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's how a man responds. All that excitability, that's just Stephen A. erupting in bitch energy as usual. I mean, at the end of the day, you already know what you're getting from Lonzo. You already know what you're getting from LaVar. You knew what you were getting when he got drafted. If LaVar is making certain statements and you're worried about who the leak is, then your team is on the verge of being broken up anyway. Which is why they traded Jordan Clarkson and they tried to trade Julius Randle. The Lakers are not a threat to beat anybody. So Lonzo's dad is not the issue right now. The issue is that the media has a love-hate relationship with LaVar because he's the source of many of their talking segments. But at the same time, they're disdainful at the fact that they have to give him credit for saying things that are often true or often end up being true.
As long as he can play, everybody's going to deal with what his daddy has to bring to the table.
Exactly.
That's just how this works. You know what I would like to see?
In other words,
I would like to see LaVar Ball and Stephen A. play one-on-one during All-Star Weekend.
Oh, my God.
That's what I want to see.
I'd like to see that too.
but in other words, Stephen A., in other words,
I'll be
LaVar's
busy
gone. It
doing
seems to me,
other
Jalen,
things.
that you're. It seems to me that you're saying LaVar's gone so over the top that at this point, no one necessarily think that's being fed by Lonzo. They know LaVar just shoots off at the mouth. I tend to agree with that, Stephen A., even if in the beginning maybe it did have that effect. But
look, I don't normally try to fabricate correlations between two people, especially if you've done your due diligence in verifying their personality types. LaVar Ball, once you've assessed him properly, you know that he does not need to be told something in order for him to speak his mind. So I would not naturally assume that the statements that he makes about the team are coming from Lonzo. He's someone who's going to look at things from the outside and say, this is what's going on. He's not someone who needs a plug. He doesn't need a plug to inform him. So I personally would not have naturally associated LaVar's statements or his commentary being based in any information that was given him by his son. You never know if that is possible. But my thing is always, is it true or not? I don't care about what people are saying. It's all about, is it true? We live in a society where everybody's more worried about people's feelings than the truth.
But the way we do this, and we're going to get to this a little bit later on in the show, Jalen, but in terms of blaming the media, you know there's not an exact science to it. When at ESPN and any media organization, which is also entertainment, entertainment sports, television network, right? Sorry.
Yeah, you had a glitch because you didn't get your amphetamines that morning, allegedly.
ESPN, entertainment sports network.
Programming network.
I missed the
Entertainment sports programming network. Only the company you've been working
I kept missing the
minute,
anyway.
right
The point is,
we're out of time.
The point is, we guess at what people want to hear sometimes, and if we overdid it a little with LaVar, because it turns out he's insane, is that our fault? And now we're dealing with it.
For Max Kellerman.
Jalen, I'm contemplating not inviting you back for the next block, but apparently the producers want you, so you can stay.
Oh my goodness! Can you teach Max what the acronym of ESPN stands for?
Relax.
It doesn't really matter whether Max knows that or not, as long as when he gets his check, it says ESPN on it. At the end of the day, did you see what Max Kellerman did at the end? He stated that the reason why they spoke about LaVar so much is because they were not sure exactly the caliber of person that he was, and he ended up being quote unquote crazy. That's what the media does once they realize that you cannot be reprogrammed. They try to marginalize you by calling you quote unquote crazy, which is, as Dave Chappelle would say, the most dismissive thing that people can do, oftentimes because they don't have the intellectual depth to investigate the reasoning behind why you say what you say, or if they realize and understand that your sentiment is totally contrary to whatever their personal agenda is. We know the agenda of the media is to glorify females, glorify homosexuals, and perpetuate the corporate domination of the mindset of individuals. LeVar Ball bucks all those trends. He doesn't have any homosexual energy. He has strong patriarchal energy over the woman, and he's trying to start his own business. He's not subservient to the corporate mindset. So it is what it is. Peace.